Hi, I'm Jared Smith in Charleston. This week, a special Tuesday episode for you. Our guests this week are two guys behind the upcoming computer game Outbrk, which will be a virtual storm-chasing online game. We had a blast talking to them and want to make sure that you have an opportunity to watch the interview ahead of the Carolina Weather Group's expanded Ian coverage, which will include a live episode in our normal time slot Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. For now, enjoy this episode of the Carolina Weather Group.
I'm James Brierton in Charlotte, and welcome to the Carolina Weather Group. We are talking this week about Outbrk, the storm-chasing video game in development that you soon could be playing on your computer. Joining us this week from Quebec, Canada, David and Marc are the weather nerds and the developers behind this game that is in early access. We'll explain what that means, where they are in their development phase, and how you can follow along in the ongoing development. If you're a loyal Outbrk fan joining us this week here on the Carolina Weather Group, stay tuned. I have it on good word that we're going to see a sneak peek of something brand new you have not yet seen from Marc and David from the development world of Outbrk. And if you are a loyal Carolina Weather Group podcast viewer or listener, we're going to bring you up to speed on what these guys have been working on. It is so cool. We're so lucky to have them this week. And let's start by having you guys, Marc and David, bring us up to speed. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what your game is all about, and what you are looking to achieve with this development.
Well, our goal is to take what is already cool about weather in real life and make that accessible for people to chase from their home, either like in off season or people that it's extreme weather is really like regional and seasonal. So to be able to chase when nothing's happening or when you're too far. I know Marc is suffering from missing storm most of the time. In the winter in Canada, it's pretty tough. So that's basically his idea, to just be able to chase from we're both big gamers. So to develop this game was it really started from there.
You're big gamers. Are you big weather nerds? Is that what drew you to this topic?
I'm from the video game industry. I'm best friend with Marc for we've been playing soccer when we were very young, and we've been playing like co-op games together basically since. And so it was his idea basically to develop this game. And I'm a full-time game developer. I like my day job. I work at Ubisoft, and so I know how to make games. It's just like I've been there for 10 plus years, and to me it's like no secrets in game development, and I know how to get there. And when Marc kind of approached me with just talking about his idea of hey, I'm gonna recreate full-scale storms and a multiplayer game and stuff like that, I was like, all right, good luck. I know it's very hard, very, very hard to do that kind of stuff. And he ended up kind of showing me prototypes of stuff working already in Unity, being able to import real weather data and transferring it into kind of gameplay scenario working full scale. And I was like, yeah, you kind of did the harder part, that part that I thought was kind of borderline impossible. So I joined in then and to try to work on the map. I'm a level designer. That's my job. So working on the map to me, it's like second nature. I can do this. And working on the game aspect of it, because it's cool to have a very strong simulation system, but to have strong engagement and being able to use this project also for people that don't really care about weather in real life, but people that play Roblox is very popular. Storm chasing on Roblox, storm chasing on Minecraft. So try to have a broader reach as well. So Marc brought the technical aspect. Marc is doing most of the programming of the game. I don't do programming myself, and also brought the expertise on the real life weather. And I brought the making a game aspect of it, and also a little bit of the production aspect of how to it's a very big chunk of work to make a game, and how to just take it part by part and prioritizing and all of that stuff. That's how we got here.
Marc, you've done some real life storm chasing. Where have you done that storm chasing?
I began storm chasing in 2007, and I think the first time I went to the States was in 2008. And so my first chase-cation was in 2008. And it was the year of winter, and it was basically a very, very good year for storm chasing. So I got hooked instantly, and basically came down pretty much every season since then, except some years, But as soon as I can, I just come for the month of May. I went for like whole months before, and then now that I have a more busy life, I guess, I just book last minute flights and ruin myself to come and see some tornadoes for a week or two and then come back home,
This game,
Yeah.
Outbrk, that you guys are developing, is this your full-time job or is this your night hobby?
It started as a night hobby, and now it's like taking a lot of space. So we have to manage our mental health in between,
Sure.
But we also have full-time jobs, both of us.
Yeah, we both have full-time job, but still Outbrk takes a lot of our free time as well. I'm basically always in front of a computer, and if I'm not doing work for my daytime job, I'm doing work on Outbrk most of the time. So there's always something to do, and it's also our responsibility on ourselves to be able to, have hopefully a balanced life, do some exercise and social activities
While
because
delivering the game,
Yeah.
One thing that all chasers like to do is have these little fun stops. So I got to ask, are we going to see like the traditional chaser convergence out in the Midwest? Are we going to have like a big gathering of chasers together on this game? Like,
hang on a second. Are you asking this question because you're wearing a Buc-ee's gas station
well,
t-shirt?
that's right.
And
I
you
got
want to
my
know
Buc-ee's
if
shirt
there's
on.
going to be a Buc-ee's in the game?
I was gonna ask if is there gonna be a Buc-ee's and a Waffle House? I mean, that seems like you've got to have those in any chasing scenario. But no, I guess really my question is, are you gonna make this like realistic, like what we see in cities and towns and stuff out in the Midwest? I mean, how real is is it gonna look?
We have our world, and David can tell you more about that, but our world is basically a fictional reproduction of Tornado Alley, including more like arid zones, which are like very close to Rocky Mountains to the west. So you can feel like you're close to Colorado or down south. You have the Green Plains, and then if you go east, more east of in the map, you will have more mountains and trees all over the place. So you're more like in Dixie Alley, and down south it's going to be more like the Texas area coast. So it's like it's nothing. There's no reproduction of any real area there, but there's elements that we see while storm chasing.
That's great because there is such a big difference between, like you said, chasing in Colorado, and eastern Colorado than there is in Mississippi or Louisiana or Alabama. So that's really cool
exactly. And then the games will start. So you come in and you have weather data, and you basically start the game close to initiation or at initiation. So when storms are firing up, and what happens is you don't know obviously what's going to happen before, because it's part of the game to find out. And you also don't choose where you start, and everyone's going to start at the same location at a gas station. So everyone's in a parking and everyone's opening their map and looking at data, and you see some driving out, and then the rest is whatever you decide to do. Sometimes we did a play test with a lot of people, and it was really cool to see like sometimes like a train of chasers following each other, and some rogue ones just going in and trying to be more like taking more risks. And you could see like the storm chasing styles that I see in real life, but in the game. I was really excited to see that. Like there were some people actually taking a step back, watching it from the distance, and missing the biggest show obviously, but they were being safe.
Yeah, so let's talk about some of the elements of the game and how people can analyze storms. I'm assuming you have radars, you have storm chasing vehicles, all those kinds of things. Let's talk about that.
When people are playing, as soon as they get in the game, they can see there's a map basically, and on this map you have the radar with currently reflectivity and velocity, so you can see like the basics of radar, and eventually we'll add more products for the weather nerds out there, but for now it's only that. And then if you go to like, let's say like a more advanced mode, then you have a lot more products like the surface analysis. So you'll have not an analysis but surface map. So you'll have plots all around the map, and that are actually linked to weather stations that you can see in the map. And on that, you can see obviously temperature, dew point, and wind direction and speed. And then you have like a cape value, cape maps, the winds at each level, like 250, 500 millibars, and 850. And we're gonna add more and more as we add content to the game. But right now it's more like, okay, you have instability, you have shear, and here's what's happening at the surface, and then radar. So that's what we have right now. And but with weather data, you can get so many products that are not even like available on like pivotal weather and stuff like that. So I think the hardest part for me, developer wise, was to create the velocity maps, because it doesn't exist in weather models. You have to like place a radar somewhere and have it simulate, the beam going around it.
I was going through your Kickstarter trying to show for the YouTube
Yeah.
audience that might watch later on what this was kind of looking like. And I will say I'm very excited about the addition of velocity, because I've seen some other attempts at this genre of game, and without that velocity data, it's hard to make that decision on where you're going to go if you're only looking at reflectivity. So that'll be really cool that you guys are going to have that.
And I think it's very important to have it. And I think even in the screenshots there, I kind of interpolated the data a little bit, so it looks a bit smoothed. And I think I'm going to remove that and just simulate at a better resolution, so it's going to look even more like real radar. So right now, what you can see is more like a smoothed version. And sometimes looking at velocity map that way is not exactly the best way of finding rotation. So
We like
some
the
stuff-
difference of having a radar scope on your phone versus like WeatherBug or something. So
yeah.
that'll be cool. And here's a mock-up. You guys were talking a little bit earlier about how you're simulating all these different pieces of real life. So to show anybody who hasn't seen it just yet what a mock-up of some of your funnel clouds look like, it's really cool.
Just curious if you have any meteorologists working with you in the development process, just to make sure that that what you're doing is making good meteorological sense, or if you're just using your own experience for that.
I'm of course using a lot of my experience as a storm chaser for over 13 years, but I'm also here in Canada part of a company that's basically doing private forecasting for events and even little towns here and whatnot. And we have meteorologists in there. I'm more like into the storm chasing part. I also do forecasting for severe weather, but I'm surrounded by weather guys, and yeah, of course I make sure everything is legit, and on the science side.
I am impressed with the artwork that I saw in the mock-ups that you had there. Just curious how much of your time you have to spend just being an artist there, as opposed to doing actual coding or working on the game itself.
For the mockup that was shown, it's mostly my work. That is why how we split our work. I was talking a little bit earlier. I'm a designer by trade, so I try to bring the game aspect of it. I trust Marc on the science aspect of it, and it's a really cool conversation and collaboration that we have, where I'm gonna do mockups in Photoshop real quick, and while obviously Marc and I spend a lot of time together online, so I brainstorm with him of like, what do you think of this system? How could this system look like? And then, because he's gonna be the one ending up having to code it, so this is how, Marc has a lot of stuff to do on the code side, so I try to alleviate him a little bit of the side of work that doesn't require programming. So
yeah, and I couldn't do any level design like he does, anything that's like visually looking good, except when it's technical. I can't even draw stick figures, so I don't have that kind of ability.
I can relate, Marc. I can't draw a stick figure either.
Yeah. One thing I'm curious about with the gameplay, is it going to just simply be you against the weather, or you have the opportunity to perhaps compete with others, maybe other storm chasers in the game, and see who can find the best storm or get there first, or find that needle in the haystack on a given day?
Yeah, the thing we wanted to do is to have a simulation of storm chasing, and that was like my first idea. And then when David came in, he kind of, his role is also to like I'm the weather nerd, I'm the science guy, and I want it to be exactly like when I chase, you know. And he's the guy that comes in and says like, this is boring in a video game, and this cannot be done, and like people are not going to drive for 6 hours in the game, you know, before something happens.
Yeah.
And yeah, but you know that's what happens in storm chasing. Yeah, but this sucks. Okay, so then he brings me ideas for like, okay, gameplay design. So here's how we're gonna make it fun while still being uh, while still being realistic and everything. So I'll let you, David,
Yeah.
tell about like what can people do to like kind of compete and stuff like that.
There's multiple big aspects. Obviously, like it's a game, and in the end, you make points and you make money to upgrade your car, upgrade your tools to storm chase better. This is like the kind of the progression loop that we're gonna have in the game. But when we have to decide that what makes point, this is where it's like a blank canvas, you know. So like Mark was saying, like real life storm chasing can be boring at times, and in the end, it's worth it because weather is spectacular in real life. In a video game, it's a little bit different, and the fact that like it's a game, you can have like a tornado on command. If you play like 7 hours, you're gonna have like 15 16 tornado, like you're gonna see it all the time. So when you have you lose a little bit that feeling of uniqueness. We have to bring game systems in to kind of qualify and quantify how good of a chase you've done. The goal of the entire gameplay system in Outbrk is to, if a player kind of does a good job engaging with our system, he should kind of mimic what a good real life storm chaser would behave. So we try to reward good positioning, good intuition on where the storm is going to develop, especially when there are multiple like storm cells that going around at the same time, and try to be able to predict what's going on at the right time. Don't get caught into danger zones and try to penalize that, so that you can, it costs a lot less to repair a virtual car than a real car. But in the game, we have to make that punishing so that people kind of take care of us, like try to not get caught in the hail, try to drive relatively safely, not like get off road. So we built this like our and you mentioned as well as like a little bit competitive. So I'm gonna do a like quick rundown of our current design that when you were scrolling through the Kickstarter, the mockups, this is what we explained in the block of text next to it. We give points on the documenting the weather event that's happening, so taking pictures of stuff that's happening and then reporting it on the weather map. And we give a little bit more point if you're the first person to like take a picture of a tornado. And this is what, like, when you report it creates a warning in the map, like if you would have done that in real life as well. And we penalize, like I was saying, like if you get damage on your car, if you crash, you can die and stuff like that in the game. So you try to get in a good position. Also, like Mark did a fantastic job of just, if there's hail, if there is rain that covers the tornado does not necessarily give points. Then you have to place yourself like around the storm event to be able to document what's happening in a great way. And this is all in like our camera module, which is like currently our next big step that we're going to develop. The other side is we have probe gameplay. We have to deploy a probe in the path of the tornado. So this is also another aspect of, people that are better at understanding the behavior of a tornado will be able to place their probe more closely to like the path of the tornado and get out of the way in time to not get sucked in the tornado or to get caught in hail, or to all the kind of real aspect of storm chasing. So all of these kind of system gives points depending on how good of a job you've done. And then we deduct the points on like, did you do damage on your car? There's also fuel management. So that's like all come to the party, and hopefully at the end we give you kind of an amount of point that's representative of how good of a job you've done. And then you can carry that into your loadout and upgrade your gear, upgrade your car and stuff like that, and maybe buy a better car and progress into the game like that.
All right, around here we like the juice, and if you watch TikTok, you know what I mean there. I see Peter laughing. Anyways, any little tidbits that you may have not announced yet to any of your followers that you would like to kind of talk about on here before we wrap up the show?
Well, we're probably in our next updates talk a lot about the recent Unity version upgrade, and then that comes with. I actually finished doing the upgrade today, so that means that we have visual effects that are going to look a lot better. We're going to have like a lot more like shadows in play when there's lightning, so that's going to change the immersion so much. And we also have a new tornado in the making. I could leak a little bit of it. It's basically how it looks, and it's now reacting to the lighting of the world like much better than it was before. But the cubes that you can see here are allowing me to change the shape of the tornado.
Oh, that's very cool.
So and like the weather system is basically going to control those invisible cubes. And then I'm able to, when I'm creating the tornado, I want to be able to change all the variables that I want to be able to control, like that I want the weather systems to control. So I could change the bottom width of the funnel, and even the top here, make it like a tiny one. And if I change the lighting now, you can see that I'm like with the sun behind or on the other side. We didn't have that in the past. We had to like fake lighting because the particles, basically the things that are rotating here, were not allowing us to do it, and they're casting shadows. So I think it's a big improvement. We're very excited for that, and it's actually a pretty big leak because it's before our next newsletter. So I'm happy to show you that little thing here.
The lighting makes it feel extra sinister, I think.
Yeah, and
Right.
obviously I'm going to be able to tint the whole thing, and you could have pink tornadoes if you wanted.
Yeah,
And that whole system is going to allow us to have like very complex tornadoes with multi-vortex stuff, with vortex breakdown phase, where it starts doing like a helical thing. We're going to be able to have all of that, and it's pretty cool to have that. I think it's going to be pretty realistic. It's the centerpiece of our game, so it has to be. If we're claiming to have a realistic weather, then the tornado has to be also like behaving like it should.
I think I want to hit on one thing you guys were talking about there, and that was the mental health aspect, especially during the pandemic and especially as a night hobby, because I am currently monitoring and interested in several different games that are in early development. And I've seen kind of games that have succeeded and games that have fallen by the wayside for a myriad of reasons. And you guys have done very regular updates on Kickstarter, on Discord, and with the folks who have kind of been monitoring you there. What is that like from a mental health standpoint, trying to juggle all of these responsibilities and these goals, not only you said for yourself, but for all of the folks who have financially backed you on Kickstarter? How do you manage that?
It really comes from like there is high and lows. We are pretty new at this. I've experience making games, but I don't have much experience making games alone. So that's very different. And for just the work aspect of it, like to not overwork ourselves, it really comes from having good planification. It really helps to work with small achievable goals. This is where we have our Trello board where we track all of our tasks. This is a public Trello board where the community can check at any time what we're working on, what remains, and like if we're blocked, and see how the tasks are like assigned to, and if it's in progress, if it's completed. We also it's also hooked to our Discord, so it posts updates whenever we progressed in a Discord. We have a channel for that. So this is how we can achieve this colossal amount of work by having really structured plans to how to get there, and so we can just it's really intimidating doing an entire game. It's really hard. That's why so many people fail. It's not only hard technically, but just the sheer amount of like the force of will. When you've done like a full 8 hours days of work, you don't really want to do like debugging and very complex system necessarily, but it's a kind of a necessary step to do. And when it's really well planned out and you can have something to check afterward, this is what kind of gets at least me
And
going.
I think that the key to stay sane with that kind of project is to find your strengths and exploit it and use them, and not trying to do everything on your own. So it's always easy to say, because if you don't have any money, you have to do everything on your own. But I mean, even between me and David, I have learned so many things over the years now that we started developing this game. And now I know, like, for instance, that I'm very bad at managing the community, and he is very good. So I took a step back on that, and it was especially for my mental health, because it was, it was not good for me. So that's just an example, but there's stuff like that I'm better at doing, and then we just found ourselves, the best things that we needed to do for each other and for the project.
I think that was a lot of good advice, including the fact, as Marc said, to lean into your strengths, know those strengths, and work together as a team. And David, you brought up a good point that maybe when you're talking to people, they're not game developers. As we're sitting here, I'm realizing we're a podcast about weather. We probably are talking to a lot of people who aren't game developers either. So I feel like I would do a poor job as host if I didn't say, for folks who maybe know atmospheric science but don't know a lot of gaming, Discord is a place where people can go and have chat rooms and chat with folks across topics, but it's very popular in the gaming community. You guys mentioned Trello, and that's a task management platform where you can see all the different tasks and where they are in progress. And then Kickstarter is a platform where folks can go and pay into the idea of something that will then be promised to fruition. Video games is just one of the niches that are on there, and we will include all of those links in the description of our podcast tonight. We've come to the point of the evening where we want to let people know where they can learn more about your game, how they can support it, where they can eventually buy it. Where are you sending people?
Our Steam page is the best place to be. Right now, the people that are interested can wishlist us to know when the game will be finally available. On our Steam page, we also post a monthly newsletter telling what we're working on with screenshots. We're going to show a little bit of the tornado that Marc just showed us on our newsletter for this month. And other than that, we have our Discord server where people can interact with us. Like I said previously, people can ask us questions. There's no dumb question. If like I cannot answer, I ask Marc. If it's a very specific, like, will there be, insert a very scientific term that I don't know in the game, and it's like, yeah, poke Marc, what does this mean? Will we have this in the game? And then Marc answers the question. So we really try to answer absolutely every question that goes there, and we have a pretty active community already there, of like a bunch of people that are very impassioned to see the game, but also people that were able to playtest it in our latest playtest. And obviously we're going to have more playtests coming up to be able to again see if we're doing a good job developing something that people want, and that is up to the expectations that are obviously very high from the community, but also from ourselves.
Like recently, a good reason why it's taking so long is because we did a playtest with players and then found out some weak points in our gameplay. So we changed everything and then did a bigger playtest after and found a bit less, but still some stuff to work on. So we think that the next one is the one, but we'll see.
So Steam, Discord, but we also have a presence, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, also on YouTube where we post videos. But if you're on Steam, if you're on Discord, you're gonna know about the major news first. This is where we post first, and then we propagate that to our other social medias.
I'm looking forward to the game. I'm looking forward to the next community test. I missed the first one. Really excited to hopefully be able to join the second one. Hopefully we've not only enhanced the excitement of your existing fans tonight, but brought you some new ones as well. I think some of the guys on the screen are going to go check this out. So David and Marc, appreciate your insight. Love what you guys are doing. Thanks for making time for us.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
And that's going to do it for this edition of the Carolina Weather Group. I'm James Brierton in Charlotte. On behalf of everyone here at the Carolina Weather